The Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
It's the front page news.
It's what's trending now.
All right, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. 1 in 36 children has autism's spectrum disorder, and April is dedicated to autism awareness and acceptance. Joining us this morning, faith-based psychologist Dr. Aldewan Tart. Dr. Tart, good morning. Happy to have you this morning. Yes,
we're covering such an important topic. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, man. We are always happy to have you on. You've been coming on with us for over 10 years. And first and foremost,
Wow.
break down with everybody exactly, what exactly is autism and what are, the different layers of this disease.
All right. So actually, autism is called autism spectrum disorder, right? And it's actually not a disease. It is a disorder. So, Rickey, you just helped us debunk one of the myths, all right? So autism spectrum, meaning like if you met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism. Means that it runs the spectrum. And we've seen this. So we've seen individuals with challenges with feeding themselves, head bumping and flailing. And then we've also seen people get PhDs in physics with autism, so it runs the gamut. So basically what we're looking at is like challenges with social communication and interaction skills. And then you'll see restricted or repetitive behaviors. You might see delayed language or motor or cognitive skills. And a lot of times you see this like 18 to 24 months of your child being born, you'll start to see poor eye contact. You'll see repetitive play, overstimulation. But the thing that's sad is that for kids of color, a lot of times the diagnosis is made a lot later because we don't have the same access to autism in different communities. And it typically affects boys at a rate of 1. So the most diagnosis when it comes to autism is mostly boys.
I have to ask, what are the early symptoms our parents can look for if they think their child might be autistic, and how is it diagnosed?
All right, so a lack of response by name around 9 months. So you're calling their name and they just don't seem to respond. Deficits in shared interest, so not pointing, not showing, not bringing objects to share. So this is something that like daycares, nurseries, they see this lack of eye contact, lack of a joyful expression, right? Not understanding nonverbal communication like gestures. And then difficulty starting and maintaining conversations and having appropriate social interactions. And then you also see repetitive behaviors, like they can't come off a block. They keep playing with blocks all day, right? They'll be fixated on rockets. They'll be fixated on repetitive play. And then sometimes you'll see developmental regression. So they used to have language, and then often by around like 15 to 24 months, you'll see that they stop progressing. They stop having the language of other kids. All right, and so if we're talking about like how to evaluate it, there's usually a developmental screening that's done by your primary care physician, and then they'll refer you to a specialist, and then they'll look for genetic, because a lot of times like Fragile X and Rett syndrome, so many things that are associated, and then they get a comprehensive evaluation, and then ruling out other conditions before you can get a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder.
So
I know I went in, Rickey.
No. That's Rita, you got something?
Yeah, I'm just curious. There's a conversation going on right now about a clinical diagnosis versus like just a self-diagnosis. Can you talk about the importance of that? Do you need a clinical diagnosis, or can you just kind of, symptomize yourself?
Well, you know what we're seeing is a rise with just autism spectrum disorder. I believe Amanda Seales just came out, and Chris Rock also came out about talking about the just difficulty with social interactions. And I think that's what you're talking about, is people that shut down. They, even as adults, they realize, do I have undiagnosed, autism?
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at some of the symptoms. So we started talking about a significant need for structure, difficulties with social interactions, meltdowns, where they'll just be super intellectual in one area, like remembering math facts, being able to figure out certain things, but not being able to read basic social cues, not being able to not interrupting. Does that make sense? And so we see a lot of people self-diagnosing and realizing, hold up, I think that I might be experiencing some of these issues as an adult. And typically it comes up when people struggle in relationships over and over again. They just don't get why things are not working.
And Elon Musk as well. You know, he has
Yes.
this. He's also on the spectrum.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and so when you see it, you can kind of like a hyper focus on things. So you can see that you can be super successful in certain areas, but in other areas, you simply do not get it. You just do not understand how certain things are offensive, or you don't understand why it's, inappropriate to talk for 30 minutes straight without it being more of a dialogue. So think about intelligence as far as academics, but look at ASD, autism spectrum disorder. Look at it as a difficulty understanding emotional intelligence, right? That's where they really struggle. Like a lot of times people were talking about, why did Chris Rock not understand that Will Smith was coming up to hit him? It's difficulty reading cues, difficulty understanding how certain jokes are offensive. Difficult, like Amanda Seales, she said this, right? Difficulty getting along with others over and over again, but the same conversation. I don't understand what I did to offend them. So that's why we're seeing these things, even in developed high-functioning ASD, but you also see there are kids that need special classrooms, and helmets and specialized teachers and just different centers to be able to help.
Wow, this is a lot of good information, Dr. Tart. Yeah. So if anybody having any issues out there and they need to reach you, let everybody know how they can follow you. And, do you have any material that they could get as far as helping them, with autism or anything?
All right. So the number one resource, well, I'm going to say number one, but a top one is autismspeaks.org. autismspeaks.org. And then especially for families of color, right, the color of autism.org. The color of autism.org, because parents are going to need a lot of support being able to get their kids diagnosed, put into the appropriate schools, put into the appropriate centers, and given the right resources as well as adults. But if you want to contact me, you can simply just go to drtart.com, drtart.com. But I recommend those autism resources first. So again, autismspeaks.org and the color of autism.org, because I want our families to get help.
That's good stuff, Dr. Tart. Thank you so much. Always thank you, for joining us, taking time out of your busy day. And let everybody know how they can follow you one more time, just for the people in the back.
All right. So just if you're on Instagram, go to @DrTart. That's DrTartt, @DrTartt, or just go to drtart.com. I have a lot of courses to help people out with mental well-being and relationships.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Aldewan Tart, Rickey Smiley Morning Show.